Welcome to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined, with your host, the one and only Betsy Tinnervin. On this podcast, we bring you people who share their personal journeys in life, business, and of course, real estate. Get motivated, inspired, and priceless information from entrepreneurs, community leaders, and realtors who are thriving. Now let's get raw and real. Here's Betsy.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinnervin, with LPT Realty and, of course, the Tampa Bay Investments team. I am super excited to have you all back with us. Appreciate all of our religious listeners that tune in every single weekend. We have, in my mind, I know that, the definition of a celebrity or famous people can be skewed, but to me, I have two celebrities in my studio today. One is a national speaker, and the other one has a massive following on social media and has done just amazing things with his career. So today we're going to be talking all things financing and all things fraud. Super exciting in the industry to have two people in the studio that have been in the same industry for a very long time and quite frankly had very different experiences. So I first want to introduce my guy who is now my friend who runs the TED Show, Mr. Ted Bogert.
Good afternoon, Betsy. How you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. I was so excited to have two people drive hours to come do this show with me. And I love everything about what you do. Obviously, you are with Future Home Loans and you have the website, The Bogert Experience.
The Bogert Experience. It's all about the experience with Ted. It's so weird to be interviewed. I'm going to have to be quiet. You keep asking.
I know. We just talked about this, right? We're used to being the interviewer, but we agreed that you would come back and interview me, though.
Correct.
Okay.
It's so funny to be on this side of it because all I want to do is jump in and start asking questions.
Well, you're going to get asked a lot of questions today. I am excited that you are here because you've been in the mortgage industry for how long?
8 years, but in the real estate world, 30.
I know. You could be my dad.
Sadly. Wow. Okay, well, where's that cocktail we were talking about earlier?
I love that you're here. We're going to talk to all realtors and all people thinking about buying or purchasing investment properties and really wanting to dig deep on the financing side. Also, I want to talk a little bit about with you later in segment 2 and 3, just about business in general. I know your networking and your social media base has been huge, and that's why I wanted to bring my guy, Juan Sanchez, here.
Hello.
How are you, Juan?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, Juan, what is your title?
I'm kind of like Prince Harry. I used to have a title and it was taken away from me. But I guess if you were going to give me one, it will be a former con artist or scammer or I don't know. It depends.
Remember, we walked through this process, Walmart to sales.
Yeah, I guess.
Sales to?
Sometimes it was Walmart to sales, sales to conman.
Yes.
Conman to convict to contributor. Yeah. So I'm a convicted felon. I'm a convicted felon, and my crime of choice was bank fraud. Anything related to mortgages, lending, that kind of stuff. So I definitely bring another side to the Bogerman experience.
Yes, you do. I'm fascinated.
But the cool thing now is you are running classes for people and helping people fund appropriately, and you're also contributing a lot to the world.
And yes, and I think the timing is perfect. I think we're entering a season where desperation to purchase and need to sell kind of like collide, and that becomes a very dangerous formula because it may force buyers to commit mistakes and literally to commit crimes that they don't know they're committing. So I'm in the educational side now where I try to teach people and guide them on how to do the right things.
Correct.
Basically not to fall victims of people like me.
Yes.
And
also just the whole experience, right? Just like what you went through, why you got there, and all of those things. But we're not going to give the listeners all the goods because they have to come back to segments 2, 3, and 4. So, Ted, I will throw the ball back to you for a second.
Sure.
The biggest thing I just want to talk about is right now in this industry with financing, doing what you do, like give us your outlook on what people need to be aware of and what's important.
I think one of the biggest things is that the sky is not falling. I talk about this a lot on the show. I think the media, mainstream media, has painted such a bleak picture, but I believe that 2023 is a year of opportunities. That's not just for the people in the real estate world, but also the consumer. And I feel like if you listen to the media, you think that the world's bleak, everything's going to crash, the interest rates are going to be 20%, and that everything is bad. And it's just not like that. I have a lot of lenders have closed, a lot of mortgage brokers have closed, a lot of realtors have gotten out of the business. And I think that is good in some ways, and I think it's just going to help with 2023. I believe that this is the year of opportunity.
I love that that's how you're describing 2023, because I feel like people really got depressed after COVID and they kind of got in this huge rut. And at the end of the day, there's always opportunity. And I think that that's where, Juan, you can second this and give me your opinion. You were in federal prison for how long?
9 years, 8 years and 7 months.
8 years and 7 months.
Yeah.
And I remember the biggest thing I talked to you about was the last year you were in prison, creating a roadmap, which you claim is on the wall in your living room.
Well, I always tell people I was like a hamster in the wheel, where you're spinning, but you're not moving anywhere. So I had to make sure that when I got out, I had a direction. Otherwise, I was going to go crazy. So I think one of the biggest advantages that I have is that when I got out of prison, everything was new, even things that are old for people here, like social media, for example. All right. So I see an opportunity everywhere. I think the difference between 2023 and where we come from is that money will become easier to be made, and people are not used to that.
I agree.
People are not used to that. So if you have this mentality that you have to work hard for your money, you're probably going to be out of business because you're going to be obsolete. Great. It's like, pedaling from point A to point B. I'm sure when the car was created, there were some people that refused to ride a car because they were comfortable with a bike. Eventually, those people never showed up on time, like Betsy, for example. But,
nice.
But I'm just throwing that out.
You don't
there.
like it, Juan. You don't like it that I say. That's why I have Hillary now. Hillary's like, you sure you want me to come to the radio every week and you're going to pay me to film? I go, yeah, because if I tell everyone to be here at 12:45, then I usually walk in about 1. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I think that that's great when you talk about opportunity, just because I feel the same way. And especially a female in this industry. A lot of my partners know I'm not really big on strictly female entrepreneur groups. I don't really participate in them because I believe that we all have the same opportunities. And I honestly believe it's a little bit easier for me sometimes than you guys because I am a woman. And so for me, I couldn't agree more that 2023 is a year of opportunity, but every year is a year. So when people are saying, I want to make this year better than last year, well, I want to say, well, what did you do last year? Because last year was an opportunity too. So back to financing, Ted, if someone is interested kind of right now in getting into, let's say, investing in real estate or buying, Tampa, Orlando area is the #1 market that just came out on Forbes. Yes. So what do you say to people with fear in that?
I honestly believe that you are going to see 2023 as the year of the investor, the fix and flip. Everybody's been talking about it for several years. But this is the time where those people who have been holding on to their money, that have been trying to kind of wait out to see what was going on, you're going to see so many of them jumping in, and they're going to be educated investors. And I think that is critical because they're going to come in. They're not going to be the people who expect to have the 2.5 interest rate. They're not going to be the people who think that it's going to be like on TV. They're going to know the nitty gritty, and you're going to see a lot of transactions in the investor world. I think that if you are a beginner investor, it's a great time to learn, but I would not jump in unless you get with a real estate professional who is used to working in that market, because it is a little different than it's been, and it's definitely a lot different than the basic residential primary home market.
I also think that if you analyze up front, when we do our multifamily flips, we leave a 6-figure spread because we want to have that crutch if there's that $25,000 in material cost upgrades, or we have a contractor that doesn't show up. Because right now in our industries, it's really hard to find quality people that not only want to work, but show up. I had a guy tell me the other day, well, you should hire me because if I say I'm going to be there at 9, I'm going to be there at 9. And I go, well, I just thought that was normal. So that's what it is. But what we're going to do is we're also going to roll back in segment 2. Unfortunately, we have to take a commercial break. We're going to roll back in segment 2, talking about Juan Sanchez's class that he also offers, where he is a national speaker and he goes around and he talks about help funding these deals. We're also going to talk about some programs that Ted does as well for realtors, teaching them how to partner with mortgage professionals. We appreciate everyone out there listening. We are excited for segments 2, 3, and 4. Again, we're going to jump right into information on some classes that Juan offers, some tips and tricks from Mr. Bogert with the Bogert experience for real estate agents, investors, and obviously people just wanting to purchase their first home in kind of a tough market. Download the iHeartRadio app, pop in your earbuds, whether you're at work, at the gym, doing your laundry. This is the next 3 segments you are not going to want to miss. These guys' price per hour in my mind is priceless. So we appreciate you guys being with us and listening to all the gems that they have to drop. We are going to catch you after the break.
The best comp plans ever in stock and revenue share, but if we're not closing real estate transactions, all of that is worthless, because ultimately everything starts with a real estate transaction, which starts with a consumer. And so we wanted to arm our agents with the absolute best technology and best marketing tools to do more real estate. And that's, again, I think a big differentiator. I think very few brokerages really sit down and say, how do we provide tools to make sure that our agents can be more productive, sell more real estate, win more listings, win at more listing appointments, help more buyers find that home. And we're very focused on that. And so while we have the best comp plans and the best ways for agents to generate wealth and earn, we also have the best tools, and more importantly, I would say have the best tools to help you be successful in real estate.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin, with LPT Realty and the Tampa Bay Investments team. I am so excited that LPT makes this possible. Robert Palmer brings all the gems, the raw and real of life, business, and of course, real estate to you every single weekend. And today, if you were not with us for segment 1, sadly to say you have missed out, because I have Ted Bogert here with Future Home Loans and the Bogert Experience, as well as Mr. Juan Sanchez, who is giving us an insight on a different piece of the mortgage experience, as he did 9 years in federal prison for mortgage fraud, and now in the real world teaches classes on how not to be a victim of mortgage fraud, and also how to structure your deals in a way that you are following all the rules and regulations, which obviously Mr. Juan missed out on his first run in the industry.
Yeah. I learned how to do it the wrong way first. You know, some people have to. But I love that Ted is here, because I can throw some gems out there and you can tell me, you know, what you think about him.
I love his insight. You don't get this very often, because most of the time when people come out, they're not in it to be a contributor, as you're talking about, and an advocate. They usually go back to, just statistically, they go back to what they were doing because that's all they know. So kudos to you. I think it's amazing.
One of the things, you've been around the industry for a while. You were here in 2006, 2007, that time,
yes.
Right? What's going to happen, I believe, is that the banks are going to get a little bit more strict when it comes to requirements.
Yes.
And that's normal, because the flow of cash is not out there.
Right.
And that is the time where people start making criminal mistakes, whether it is lying about their taxes or lying about their assets or that kind of stuff, okay? And one of the things that I teach, you were talking about my class, is the one factor that you can legally manipulate on a loan process is your credit. You can bring your credit score up, and nowadays there's many tools that you can use to literally increase your score 100, 120, 150, 200 points in a matter of 3 weeks.
Can I ask you, am I allowed to ask a question?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, so
I'm letting you guys rock it.
I think what's fascinating about that is that there's so many charlatans out there in that industry,
yes,
that it's very hard for consumers to figure out, even realtors or mortgage people to figure out, how do I get the borrower, the buyer, to somebody who's actually knows what they're doing and actually is doing it in a way that where they're not basically stealing from them.
Listen, I'm gonna bring some distinctions. Betsy, if you want to go take a break and come back, Ted and
Listen, I'm just letting this ride, man.
Ted and I are gonna be hanging here for a while.
I created this, though.
You did, absolutely.
Yeah, you get your royalty check. Don't worry about it. You'll get your royalty check. One of the distinctions that people don't know is there's more than 3 credit bureaus. Okay, nowadays there's 6 major ones, including Innovis and SageStream, okay? And they're working together with TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. So if you are somebody that is in the credit, and I hate this word, credit repair industry, and you don't know about these bureaus, you don't know what you're doing.
Interesting.
You don't know what you're doing because you are fixing one record, but you are leaving the other ones open. And at the end of the day, banks are going behind the scenes to find out the truth of that person. Right. You know, the truth. LexisNexis is a clear example of what most banks are doing that people don't know about.
And it's like putting a Band-Aid on something.
Of course.
The credit repair people are saying, you know, hey, we'll get you this extra line of credit. We'll attach you on some credit card that someone else has built whatever on. And then these people do that for a short-term gain, but the long-term play doesn't solve the problem.
Correct. And now, like Fannie Mae just announced that they're going to use rental credit, rental records towards your credit score, which before they didn't. So you have apps like Level Credit, which is the one that I love to use. And Level Credit goes back up to 50 months of your rental history. So you can send them your lease. They contact your landlord. They ask him if you've been paying on time. And if you have, boom, it reports. So now you have a trade line that could be your power bill, your phone bill, your rental. I'm going to give you a tip here that is mind-blowing.
Give me a tip. I love it.
There is a debit card called cred.ai, okay? And it's artificial intelligence, obviously. And basically what it is they give you this debit card and it connects to your bank. The moment you link it, it reports to your credit report, giving you a limit of $1,500 and a balance of 0. And from now on, every time you use that debit card, it recalculates and it increases your limit. So you no longer have to worry about, oh my God, I need a secure credit card to start bringing my credit up. So there's a lot of tools out there that people don't know about. So if you are in the process of buying a house, and correct me, Ted, if I'm wrong, I'm still old school. But I tell people that buying real estate is a triangle. And you need to have 2 of the 3 corners. The 3 corners are down payment, income, credit score.
Correct.
If you have 2 of the 3, you're good. So if I tell you, listen, I have 30% down and I make good money, I just don't have any credit, you'll lend me. Because
I absolutely will.
Of course, I'm putting skin on the game. Right. But if I tell you I have 780, I have a good job, I just don't have money down, you'll also lend me.
Yes, depends on the program. You're right.
Correct. You know, so as long as I have 2 of the 3 factors, I'm doing fine. The problem with real estate right now, and I think this is where people like Betsy and her team comes in the picture, is most realtors out there don't know this. So they're looking for the guy that has all 3 corners. And that guy is a unicorn.
Or they're not looking at any of the corners and hoping that their lender gets it because they don't want to deal with it.
And that's where, Ted, I definitely want you to come in and talk about the factor that we just talked about this morning. Is that here's what happens in the real estate game, and I'm speaking to all the realtors out there that have not contacted Ted that should, and even all the clients, is that, Ted, what happens with that person that maybe is not a true unicorn, especially in a tough market where you do need a little bit more to qualify? What happens if you don't have a good LO that understands that and follow up and connects them to someone that can actually help them? What happens?
It's such a big failure, not only on the lending side, but on the realtor side, because we have to take people in. There's very few perfect clients or borrowers. And so a lot of times the LO will figure out, oh, that's a little bit more work than I want to do. I'm going to go try to find the most vanilla kind of loan, 800 credit score, something easy. And they don't want to take the time. They also don't have a resource like a WAN to take the person to. A lot of the lending programs have these built-in credit. Here's what you'll do if you do this. Your credit score will go to that. But in reality, the person wants to be handheld and probably needs to be handheld because it's very hard to maneuver through all of that minutia of credit reports and what's on my credit report and how do I challenge this. And the LO who doesn't take the time to develop relationships like with Juan or with a realtor who also isn't afraid. Real estate agents sometimes come to me and when they find out that the borrower might be a challenge, there's a big disconnect there. And I think that we are kind of in this hungry mode, or we've put ourselves in this panic mode. Like, well, I don't want to mess with that person. That's going to take too much time. I need to find somebody else who's going to get me an immediate fix on what I need, an immediate commission. And I think that we lose out if we don't build those relationships.
But I also think what's crazy is I'm pretty educated and I'm a realtor. I paid off a loan and it dropped my credit score 48 points.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't
And
know.
Juan, I was really upset about this. Like, I was like, are you serious? And so I think that what we do, especially with investors, is we don't look at their first investment. We look at the portfolio as a whole. So for instance, well, let's talk investments. When you purchase investments, you have to understand debt and tax. And people are mad at the big guys that they don't pay tax. Well, they just understand how to buy an asset, leverage debt, and have tax deductions. And so when you're looking at credit as a whole, you have to say to your client, which is what I think makes the three of us unique. We don't say, you want to buy property A, we're going to get you loan B. We go, okay, what's the plan after property A? What is the reason for the property? Like, is this property going to be a liability? Because people fail to understand that their personal residence that they make no money off of, they don't take a HELOC off of, they don't leverage the debt. It's not an asset. Like, your car is not an asset.
Correct.
Makes you $0.
Right.
So if somebody wants to buy a home, what I try to say to them is, I don't want you to not rent and pay someone else's mortgage. I don't like that line because currently as an agent, I'm renting right now. And for a reason. What I do like saying is, if you buy an asset, let's just not only have you live there, but let's borrow some money off of that to buy another asset that then pays that mortgage. That's what I like.
Agreed.
I'm a game changer.
No, I love that.
Well, I think it's a game of definition. And I think people are a little confused. And the last couple of years confused a lot of people. There is a difference between a buyer and an investor.
Agreed.
And there is an emotional factor that makes them different. A buyer is somebody that, regardless of the terms, I want that house because it's going to make my wife happy. It's going to make me happy. You know, like my girlfriend, she has 20 pairs of shoes. She's a shoe buyer. Okay, that person,
She's not a shoe investor.
She's not a shoe investor. Correct. She doesn't buy a shoe to say, listen, I'm going to buy these shoes. I'm not going to wear them. I'm going to keep them in here. So when the athlete dies or whatever, I'm going to flip the shoes. I know people that make money flipping shoes. Okay.
Okay, you have to tell them after the break, though. Don't go into that. Don't go into that. We have to take a commercial break. I'm so sorry that I left us with a limited of 10 seconds. But I want to tell all of our listeners out there, thank you. When we get back, we're going to start right where we stopped on buying versus investing. Juan is going to roll through that process really quick and pick up, and we are going to take a commercial break. We will catch you after the break.
Biggest win, I think, with the dual path and having these two models is that now we become a brokerage for everyone. No matter where you are in your real estate career or what your goals are today, maybe today you're not interested in recruiting or having a team, but then one day you wake up and you are. Well, if you're at the wrong brokerage to do that, you're locked in. Where in our model, we're not holding anyone hostage. We're not tying anyone in. You can move between the different comp plans and have that success and really achieve whatever your definition of success is under one brokerage platform, being LPT.
Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am your host, Betsy Tinervin with LPT Realty and the Tampa Bay Investments team. Today we're talking all things financing, funding, and of course, fraud. We bring you the raw and real of life, business, and real estate. And I have two people in my studio today on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I have Mr. Ted Bogert with Future Home Loans, and he does the Bogert Experience, also has the TED Show, which if you are not familiar with that, check out his social media. He has thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. I have Mr. Juan Sanchez here, who did 9 years in federal prison for mortgage fraud, and then turned around and now teaches classes, which you can visit registration at Parson, Parson, Institute.com. He has over 200,000 followers and millions of people that register for these classes that he now teaches funding and financing the proper way. We left off in segment 2 with just talking about a buyer versus an investor. But I am going to throw one more thing out here since Juan Sanchez wanted to throw a little shots fired.
Monkey wrench.
So we are doing the Invest Tour this weekend, and I obviously don't have time to tell you Ted's whole story and Juan's whole story in an hour. Ted is actually going to be a part of the tour in Orlando, but Juan is a part of the tour this weekend. We have a tour of overcoming and investing in yourself this weekend. Juan Sanchez will be speaking as the $33 million in debt con man who now is a contributor in his community. We have 6 other amazing speakers. If you are interested in the tour, you can message me at 813-609-0229 or go to our Facebook page, The Invest Tour. We are actually donating tickets to the community right now because we have 200 tickets already. So if you do want a free ticket, you can use the promo code JUAN, JUAN, for today's show. So I wanted to throw that out there. But biggest thing about that I want to throw that out there is that Juan doubted me, Ted. About the tour.
I was a doubter.
You were a doubter.
I was a doubter. And we talked about this on the break, or I think you live. I don't know. There is a lot of charlatans. There is a lot of people that say they can do things that they can't.
Absolutely.
And social media has spread that. They have facilitated this, for lack of a better word, these morons, these people that just repeat like parrots, but they cannot deliver the goods. So, of course, when Betsy is like, oh, my God, I have this lineup of people, and they're amazing. I'm like, oh, my God, not the amazing people, please. No, don't bring
Listen to this.
Amazing
This
people.
is great.
Don't bring the amazing people. So they have these calls every week, and I don't show up to any of them. Because I'm like, I don't want to talk to any of these amazing people. You know, I have enough with, like, the followers that I have and all the stuff. Like, we are 2 weeks away from the event. By the way, she's also doubting me because she's like, he's not going to show up. He's not going to go. And then Stacy's like, no. I talk to him every now and then, and he says he's going to go. So last week I showed up, and I got to meet the other speakers. And I was like, oh, my God, this lineup is amazing. I mean, these people are like...
Oh, you needed to hear that. That was so good.
These people are not like these people are self-made people. And taking it back to real estate, I think that's the problem with the industry. A lot of people got into real estate because they needed money.
Yes.
You know, and then you're just a salesman. When you start seeing real estate as a service, like we were talking about the difference between an investor and a buyer, anybody can sell a buyer a house, even if it doesn't make financial sense. But an investor, you have to know numbers. Because most likely, if you're an investor, you're going to buy a property that you will never live in. You know, you just buy it because the numbers make sense. And then you mention interest rates. And I keep telling people, when you're an investor, the interest rates are irrelevant.
Agreed.
When people tell me, right now we do commercial credit. We do a lot of commercial credit. And you love this, Ted, because what we're doing is we're teaching people how to get loans on their company's name. It doesn't report on their personal credit. And then they use that money as a down payment to buy a house. So their loan to the DTIs are not off whack, you know?
Wow.
So when people tell me, well, what's the interest rate on those commercial loans? I always tell them, if you're asking me that question, you shouldn't buy anything anyways because you don't know anything about money.
Right.
My favorite line is when I say to an investor, hey, what's your buy box? Well, I want to be in this zip code, in this area, and over here and over there. Well, you know what my buy box is? If that deal is going to make me 6 figures in 4 to 6 weeks, send me the property.
Right.
Because when you know your buy box and you know what you're trying to do, it's like the roadmap. How you get there doesn't matter. As long as it's legal, Juan.
As long as
we're not trying to.
Yeah. How you get there matters.
It matters a lot.
So I definitely want to come back to you, Ted, because I think it's interesting. How often do you see, and I actually had a lender that was a part of one of my masterminds, and I found out that she was doing some things that she shouldn't have been doing. And I don't know if it was because she didn't know or what she was doing, but how often do we see in this industry simple bad guidance to clients and then also people just doing things that are not accurate?
Every day. I get calls from realtors or buyers where if you look at the paper, they've been printed, their pre-approval, their pre-qualification, they haven't asked them anything, or they've told them that they can count something that they can't count. And I think some of it's education, but I think at some point we have to put the onus on the people. They'd rather give them good news and hope for the best and work their way back into it than actually up front tell them, hey, these are the things that are a challenge in your loan and in what you want to do, but here are the tools that we can provide you with to get you there. So our industry is wrought with fraud. It is an easy industry to be fraudulent. And I think that I'll give people education a little bit, but I think in reality, it comes down to people do know the decisions that they make. And if you even have an inkling in your gut that tells you that something's not right about this, if you're a realtor or you're a buyer and they didn't even ask you, hey, how much money do you make, or anything like that, and they're just giving you a piece of paper, you're probably dealing with someone who is not being honest and upfront with you, and you're going to be in a big bunch of trouble.
I think the partnerships matter, right?
Agreed.
So with the real estate agent and the lender, that is a partnership. And I ask people all the time, like, who is your partner? Who is your team? Like, what is your foundation? Because like you said, Juan, if you're providing a service, who are the experts on your team? Like, I am not a financing expert. I am a realtor. I am an investor. I'm a multifamily developer. Like, those are the areas I'm an expert in. And so when people come to me and they say, hey, can you help me, fund a deal or this, that, or another, I connect them immediately to the people that do that for us. Right. And I think that that's where people make big mistakes. And even circling back to social media, like I watch some of these lenders and these realtors and now they're videographers. And I'm like, well, what industry are you a part of? Like I want to stick in my lane. I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master at none. I want to master my craft. So I think with real estate agents as well, they need to guide and they need to really run comps and they need to do those things on the investment side, the fix and flip side. And we're going to talk about that on the tour. Stacey and I are going to run through. I did a whole video on while you were doubting me.
I posted it on my Instagram.
Oh, no. I did a video. It's going to roll at the tour.
Yeah.
I walk them through an actual rehab and I talk about the issues that we had, about how the property got gutted and how it became not just an $80,000 rehab, but $160,000 rehab. And we're actually going to make more money than what we started. But that's my role within our company is I'm the realtor and I do the upfront analysis and the analysis on the back end. So I definitely appreciate it. I think that I'm not really needed today. I feel like I've been somewhat of a contributor, but I definitely do just want you to tell them quickly, Juan, we have like a minute left before we go into segment 4, just kind of what you're doing in the world today and why.
Well, right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to educate people on how the credit system works, but more important, on the concept of investing and greed. Greed is what got us into trouble in 2006, and I think is what will get us into trouble again if we don't start providing a service. I mean, one of the things, bringing it back to the tour, one of the things that I love about the tour is that there's going to be several speakers there. They're all successful. None of them are greedy, and there's a big difference. But when you go to social media and you see these people telling you that you're going to buy a piece of property and you're going to make millions, you're not going to make millions in a piece of property. You're not going to make millions on anything unless you're, bringing things across the border that you shouldn't, or you win the lotto. But if you are smart enough, you can plan your retirement. You can plan the next 5, 6, 10, 15 years starting today. And new opportunities are going to show up. So I try to tell people where the opportunities are at. And flipping is flipping. I don't care if you're flipping toys or you're flipping shoes or you're flipping real estate. The concept of flipping works. One of the things I teach in class is how to buy pallets of Amazon returns and sell them on Facebook Marketplace. And it's something that I do. I teach people how to buy storage units and sell them on your garage. And I think
people also have to realize, too, they can start somewhere.
That's correct.
Hey, that's the best part about the tour, too, is that, like, all these people, they started, like, with nothing. Like, when Langston talks about the zero money down.
Oh, my God. I walked out of prison with gray sweatpants, gray shirt, white shoes, and somebody lent me $300 so I could buy some clothes, so I could walk into my kid's house and not look like an ex-convict. Okay? And I rode a bike for a year, because I didn't have a driver license.
You have to tell them after the break, Juan.
Yeah, I'll tell you all after the break. It's the best part of it. It's the best part of this.
Okay, so we will be back. We're going to take a quick commercial break. In segment 4, we are going to tell you all the information about how you can connect with Ted, how you can connect with Juan, and again, wrap up this amazing session on mortgage, financing, and fraud. We'll catch you after the break. Welcome back to the LPT All-Star Radio Show. I am normally your host, Betsy Tinnervin. However, today I can't take commercial breaks. I can't ask questions because I have two amazing guys in the studio. I'm just honored to have both of them here. Ted Bogert with Future Home Loans with the Bogert Experience, and Juan Sanchez, who's doing the Parson Institute. These guys have been phenomenal, but I want to end the show and they can speak forever. So since I only have 10 minutes and 50 seconds, I'm going to go to you, Juan, and then have Ted answer the same question. So you said something very interesting to me on the call. We both are so busy that we were on a call. It was 11 o'clock at night the other night. We were prepping for the tour. And the one thing that shocked you about the group that I put together was you said to me, there were people like me. And I think that for me, one, made me feel proud. Yeah. It did make me go, #winner. I'm a winner. But it also made me feel like that this is what I've done for myself, is created a group of people, which when I realized you could make it and Ted was coming, you guys are very same in a lot of the things that you do. So kind of just talk about that a little bit, how it's like people with a past, people with issues, people that are successful, what you meant by people that were like you.
I think you gotta stay humble, and what I meant by people like me is I came from nothing. I have come from nothing many times. And then you watch TV and you see these guys flying a private jet and telling you, listen, I'm gonna tell you how you can have my lifestyle. You sit there and you go, yeah, but that's not me. I want the real story. I want to know where your scars come from. I want you to show me that you are like me. Like I used to tell in prison, you walked with the devil. You held hands with him. And I want to know how you got out of that. So what's happening is, and I think why the tour is so important, people don't relate to a lot of things. People don't relate to a lot of speakers. 2 years ago, I had absolutely nothing. I was fresh out of prison, $300 that I borrowed on my pocket. I didn't have a driver license. I didn't have an ID. I didn't have a work permit. I went a year like that. So I know what it is to be like at the bottom of the barrel. The speakers that are going to be there are people that come from nothing. But if you see them on the streets, these guys are not walking around with a Rolex and they're super successful. There comes a point where it goes, it's above, it's below, it's not about you anymore. It's beyond you. And it's about community and society and helping others. We talked about this. You have a social cause that is phenomenal. Okay, I'm trying to help as many people as I can. We do a lot of things with single moms. That's a very sensitive subject for me because I'm the son of a single mom. I just love the group of people that you put together because they're real. Because I had the cars and I had the helicopter and I had all that stuff and I was miserable.
That's why I love the name
miserable.
I stick with that, the raw and real of everything, the raw and real of life, business, and real estate. And I think we discussed this on the TED show, Ted, is that I think that you and I became close very quickly, but I think that something that I talked to you about was being your authentic self. And when I look at you on the TED show, I've been on the TED show, I look at you as a mortgage LO or someone mentoring people and bringing people in. You stay the same throughout everything. It makes you real. But I think also people look at people like you and I, social media followers, radio shows, podcasts, and they think that we don't go through the struggle. So I kind of want you to talk to people just about what Juan said, is you are a real person too, and what you have to say to the people that are walking into 2023 and they see that opportunity, but they're like, man, the struggle is real too.
The struggle is real every day, I believe. We were talking on the way here. Struggles can come out of nowhere, but I believe that I love what Juan said earlier, giving back. I think all three of us have a spirit of community and giving back, and that's how I've led my life. I come from an abusive background as a child. I have had to overcome so many different things, but I don't focus on those things, but they still allow me to be connected to people who are suffering or hurting. I have a big heart for anything that is human misery, something where I know that I have the tools and can find a way to help them. It has been an interesting source of contention sometimes with the people in my life because they're like, well, that doesn't make you any money. And I just can't function like that. I can't think of the money first. It's not in my genes to do it, my DNA. I think of the people and how I can help them. And God's been really good to me. I'm a man of faith. And I feel very blessed in my life. But I believe it's because I've planted a million different seeds, many of them that I'll never see from those seeds, but I get blessed in other ways. So I think if you are focusing, if your business is 100% about money, then at some point you're going to be empty. You're going to feel that emptiness, and maybe you are. But if you switch it and you become a contributor, an advocate, somebody who cares about the person, and it's not a transaction, it's a relationship, then you will be much more fulfilled and have much more success.
There's only been 2 shows I've gotten like a little emotional on, and it's funny because all the listeners out there can't see us in the studio, but they hear us, and I think it's just amazing. I think, Juan, I want to take you back to that place because I think starting 2023, we've talked about opportunity, we've talked about funding deals a little bit. If somebody wants to connect with Ted or Juan, we'll give their contact information out. But what was that moment like? Like just knowing you get out, you walk into this house, yeah, that's that honeymoon phase. But the next day you wake up and you realize like, I have nothing and I'm totally starting over. Like that moment.
Well, I don't think that moment was as hard as what people told me. I remember I talked to my brother, who's obviously my only brother. And I said, listen, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have an idea. I don't have a car. I don't have a way to move around. And my brother told me, this is actually hilarious. It wasn't funny back then. If you go to Home Depot, you can stand in there, and every now and then there'll be like a truck that comes and picks you up, and then you can go and work on construction for a while. And I remember looking at him like, are you kidding me? I mean, nothing against people that work in construction, but no, that wasn't part of my plan. You know what I mean? Right. I didn't just spend 8.5 years in prison to walk out and work in construction. So I was extremely disappointed at the fact that people saw me as somebody without opportunities. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about the way I saw myself. It was about the way other people saw me. They saw my record. They saw that I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And amazing enough, 30 days after I left prison, I was working as a consultant for 2 law firms doing audits on criminal law, using my expertise and my background as a criminal. So what a lot of people don't understand is what you think is your biggest obstacle is what makes you valuable in the marketplace. I just got done telling one of our friends back home who was in a very tragic situation with a marijuana charge. I said, your best bet is that you're 44 years old. You've done a massive amount of prison time. You can take your whole obstacle and now make that your gift. And I just got a call from him. I know he was watching Facebook Live where he's walking from the work release center down to the human resource center and speaking. And he's walking down there and telling his story and speaking. So I love that. And Ted, I want to let you give your final thought as well. I know that you're doing a lot of giving back and just non-judging of people. And just say to me what don't judge a book by its cover means to you.
Well, think about it. If I had just heard Juan's story and hadn't met him, then I would be just thinking, oh my God, that guy must be crazy. Leopard doesn't change its spots or whatever that term is. But you can't look at people like that. I can't. It's just not part of me. I think it's so important to hear the person, hear their heart. You have to be you have to be vulnerable. I believe vulnerability is everything. You have to be vulnerable enough to go, I want to hear what is really going on. What's the real story? What's in your heart, Juan, or anyone that you're working with? And I think what happens too many times is we don't want to deal with what kind of emotions that might bring up in our own lives when we do that. And so we will discount someone that doesn't fit that pretty little box that we want them to fit in. So,
well, I've loved having you guys here today.
Oh, there's
I've loved every second of it.
And now,
part 2, part 3.
Now you guys are besties, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right.
We're going to start our own radio show.
We are.
Am I allowed to be a guest?
You're the first guest.
Yeah, we'll interview you.
See, Ted, can you give your phone number to all the listeners out there who want to connect with you, my friend?
Absolutely. 407-810-5670.
And if you are looking to enroll in Juan's class, you can go to email Parson, PRSON Institute.com. You can also look him up on social social media. Ted also has the TED Show. Go to Facebook. It's very easy to find.
They can also see me this weekend over at the.
They
this
also
Saturday.
can
I'll be
everyone
there
come
answering
out to the
questions.
Invest Tour.
You need to go.
This weekend, Crossover Church. If you are looking for tickets, you can send me a text message, 813-609-0229. Again, all things financing and fraud today. We appreciate LPT Realty for making this possible, and we will see you next weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. We hope this episode motivated and inspired you. And don't forget to rate and review us. Thanks again for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast with Betsy Tinervin.